want to thank you again for joining us on Written for Our Learning. And I'll ask, if you will, to be turning to Genesis chapter 14. I'm going to at least be referencing verses 18 through 20. You might also jot down Psalm 110, verses 1 through 4. And then Hebrews chapter 7, verses 11 through 16. In this lesson, we're going to return to our concept of types and antitypes. And we're going to be comparing, or we're going to be seeing where Melchizedek is a type of which Christ is the antitype. Now, there are many aspects of this we could study, and we will be looking at more of these later. But for today, we're only going to be looking at Melchizedek being a type of Christ as it relates to one's qualification and being placed as high priest. So let's move through this quickly together. When you look at Melchizedek as it relates to just the number of times that he's mentioned in the Old Testament, he doesn't seem to be a major character. He's only mentioned twice, and that's in the two passages that we're referencing. One of those is a historical reference, that's Genesis chapter 14, and the other is a prophetic essence, and that is Psalm 110, and primarily verses 1 through 4. So let's briefly examine these and see the impact they have on Christ and his qualification for serving as high priest. In Genesis chapter 14, again, that's purely a historical reference. It's a historical scene that is recorded by Moses for us. On one side, you've got Abraham, who is returning from retrieving Lot, who had been taken captive. And on the other, you have Melchizedek, who is the king of Salem, and also serving as high priest, who is returning from battle. And the text simply reveals to us that Melchizedek went out to meet Abraham and took him bread and wine. In that context, Melchizedek is described to be both high priest and the king of Salem. And that's important because Christ also serves as high priest and as king. So we do see the type and antitype in that capacity. We see Abraham's recognition of Melchizedek as high priest, and we see him paying a tithe, which is what we see under patriarchal law, to him in recognition of him serving as high priest. Then when we get over to Psalm 110, we see more of a prophetic use of Melchizedek there, and that relates to how Christ is going to be seen. And basically what we're told there is that you get down to about verse 4, that Christ is going to be high priest according to the order of Melchizedek. That's a key understanding for us because the priesthood was based on the Levitical tribe. And that point's going to be made for us when we get over into Hebrews chapter 7. So let's go ahead and go there, and let's see how this thought and see how Melchizedek is used. Though he is not a primary character in the Old Testament, he serves a fundamental and powerful position here in Hebrews chapter 7, defending the right for Christ to be seen as high priest. Now, as we move into Hebrews chapter 7, again, verses 11 through 16, we're not going to take the time to read that in this short study, but I hope that you'll do so for yourself and underline some of these key thoughts. First of all, we recognize that there is a new system. It's a better system. That's the overall theme of the book of Hebrews. It's a better system because this is the system toward which the others were taking us as we see Revelation coming and preparing that. And under that system, there's a new priesthood. There's a priesthood of all believers, but there's also another high priest that does not qualify as high priest in the normal fashion. You see, it's no longer based on lineage. We understand that Melchizedek's priesthood was not based on lineage because there's no genealogical tie for that. We don't see that being the determination. We do see that Melchizedek was placed in that capacity by God, and Christ is going to be seen as qualified in the same fashion. Christ was from the tribe of Judah. And here we see a strong argument that portrays the negating aspect of biblical silence. Biblical silence does not authorize, biblical silence forbids. Christ could not have served as a high priest in the normal fashion because he was from the tribe of Judah, of which tribe Moses spoke nothing concerning priesthood. Powerful point that is made there. However, he still qualifies because as Psalm 110 verse 4 indicated, he's going to serve as high priest after the order of Melchizedek. In other words, he's going to be a very similar high priest. He's a priest, he's a king, and it's not based on genealogy. God established them, God placed them in that position. No, Melchizedek was not based on his lineage, neither was Christ, but both were valid in their role as priests because of what God had done and because of how they're portrayed in Scripture. Christ indeed is our high priest. We see him in that capacity. We see the better nature of the priesthood through his serving in that capacity. Again, I hope that we see the power of the Old Testament as we move forward into these New Testament examples, and we see the light that the Old Testament shines on the New. Christ indeed is high priest according to the order of Melchizedek. Thank you again for joining us in this study, and until next time, God bless you.